Well, happy Friday, everybody. We talked on Wednesday when we got together about making cheese tea or bubble tea. Now, just let me make sure that I can see if you guys are chatting with me. First of all, thank you very much for showing up today. Whether you're watching this live or you're watching it later on, I'm very grateful that you took time out of your life to spend some time with me, and I hope that this is helpful to you. Now, I want to address something before somebody says anything. Yes, I do have circles under my eyes, and yes, I have a bit of a red face. I've spent the last 3 days out in the hot sun. We've been working on a project at home, and it just has been beautiful and hot and sunny. And for the very first time in my life, and for those of you who don't know, this is my 57th summer on this planet. And for the very first time in my life, I actually have a suntan. And that is something that has never been an option for me before. I always would just burn. So now I started doing a little bit of research to find out why it is that I'm not burning, I'm tanning. And although I do have a bit of a burn, I've spent 3 days, like 8 hours-ish or more every day, in plus 27 degree weather, so over 80, I believe, Fahrenheit. Beautiful blue skies, sunshine, and no sunscreen. Yes, I said that out loud. And just a wee little bit of a burn. Nothing. Yeah. So that's amazing. When I started doing a little bit of research, it turns out that I am not the only one doing keto that is experiencing this. It's a thing. So one more of those things that we didn't even know that high carb diet was doing to our health. But when you think about it, skin cancer 60, 70, 80 years ago, it wasn't a thing, but it is now. So why is it so prevalent now and it wasn't 100 years ago? Well, I'm not going to pretend that I know the answer to that, but I am going to say that I am very grateful that for the first time in my life, I'm getting to experience a suntan, and I can be out in the sun for hours and I'm not burning much. And I'm being very careful. I'm watching. If I start turning pink, I get out of the sun. Okay, so what are we making today? We are making bubble tea. Now, I had planned on doing the frothy cheese stuff on top, but we're not going to get to that today. We are, however, going to do something that is a whole lot of fun. We're going to do a little bit of molecular gastronomy. Yeah, you want to write that down because people are going to be so impressed when you know words like that. Okay, so here's the thing. If you go to Vietnam, which is where I had bubble tea when I experienced it, it was absolutely delicious and it was completely full of carbs. And we're going to talk another day, not today, but we're going to talk another day about genetics and carbohydrates, but that's for another day. Okay, so they use evaporated milk, or more commonly they use condensed milk, which is absolutely full of sugar, and they use tapioca balls. And if you've ever had tapioca pudding, it's kind of like that, only they're black and they're huge. They hardly fit through the straw. So that's what they make bubble tea with in Vietnam. Now, the tapioca spheres are definitely not keto, and the condensed milk is absolutely not keto. So we're going to do things, we're going to change it up a little bit so that ours is going to be keto. So let's get busy. Now, the very first thing that we need to do is we need to measure. Now you'll see that I have some tea steeping, and I have 3 tea bags in here. I want this tea to be very, very strong. And what I'm using is basically a type of chai tea. It is Celestial Seasonings Bengal Spice Tea. And we'll talk a little bit more about why that is my choice. Okay, now I think I'm going to do this way so that I get exactly 3 ounces. And I will show you, whoops, okay, where's my ounces? 90 milliliters is what we're looking for. Okay, 90 milliliters. Now, why are we putting just 90 milliliters? That's not very much for a cup of tea. Now I'm going to put this in a pot. Now I know this is kind of over where you can't see it, and we are going to boil that. And as soon as it boils, we're going to add gelatin to it. Now this is 20 grams of gelatin, and I want to show you, this is the gelatin that I'm using. This is Great Lakes gelatin. This is grass-fed, pasture-raised bovine gelatin. Yep, this is the bovine gelatin. Now I really like this product because it's organic, grass-fed, pasture-raised. Love that. Okay, so you can order that on Amazon if it's something that you don't have in your kitchen. Now, if you don't have gelatin in your kitchen, but you have sugar-free Jell-O, can you use this? Absolutely you can. Just remember, you're going to need 2 boxes of this, and it'll be a little bit different. Whoops, there we go, we're boiling. And it has aspartame in it, so that's something to remember. Okay, now we have our pot of boiling tea, and we are going to add 20 grams of gelatin to this, and you want to sprinkle it on top, and you can stir it as you're doing it. Now this gelatin has to sit for about 10 minutes. Now if you can do this an hour before, that is absolutely fine. Ha ha ha. Okay, now we've got our gelatin in there, and I should have just left it to bloom. Okay, we got a few little clumpies in there, but that is not going to be a big deal. Now we're just going to let this sit for a few minutes, and we're going to talk about how we are going to make this happen. Now, have you ever made gummy bears? Never made gummy bears? Okay, well, I have made gummy bears, and I've done it using sugar-free Jell-O, and I've also done it, you know what, one of these, I need a checklist is what I need. I need a checklist to remind me that I need to put my phone on Do Not Disturb. I have no production crew here today, so this is all me, folks. Okay, now we're going to let this bloom for a little bit, and we're going to talk about the tea that we're using. Now, this is a very, very strong, it's like a chai tea. It's Bengal Spice Tea, and I meant to keep the box out here so that I could show it to you, and poof, I forgot. So look for it in your grocery store. It's a really common type of tea, and it's spicy. It's got nice warm spices in it. It's got a really nice sweet flavor without adding any sweetener to it. Now today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to use this both for our tea when we get to making our iced tea, and we're also going to use it for making our caviar. Yeah, we're making caviar. Okay, now this is almost done. Now I don't want it in a hot pot. I want it in a cold container for a couple of reasons. But this is going to help cool it off a little faster. Now we're just going to scrape this out of here. Now this has some flavor already. Not a lot of flavor, but it has some. So Vietnam has been on my mind a little bit more the last little bit because I have a son and daughter-in-law and grandson that live there. And my son just turned 39 yesterday. And our grandson is 2, and because of all of the insanity in our world, we haven't met him in person yet. So Yeah, I know everybody's going, aw. Okay, now we have our gelatin that has been 5 minutes-ish, and to this we are going to add 45 milliliters, so 90 milliliters of fluid. You can use coffee, tea, so this can be changed up. You want some kind of fluid that you can make strong, so really strong coffee, espresso, really strong tea, and something weird is going on. Okay, if you're with me right now, say hi in the chat and just let me know that you're here and that you can see me and hear me. Okay, now we've got 90 milliliters of boiling tea, and we need the tea to be boiling, or the coffee, whatever you're using, or if you're using something else that is sugar-free, carb-free, we need it to be boiling so that the gelatin will bloom. And then we're going to add 45 milliliters of flavor. Now this, I'm going to show you guys what this is. This is Davinci sugar-free chai syrup. And it is wonderful, and it's going to give this so much flavor. Now that's 3 tablespoons, 45 milliliters, 3 tablespoons. And the flavor that's in here between the tea and the chai, it's going to give this caviar huge amounts of flavor, and you're going to love it. Okay, now next thing on our list of things to do is we need to get our cold bowl of oil. Now this is walnut oil. You must use a keto-friendly oil. Now if you're looking for molecular gastronomy recipes online and you see one saying that you need 2 cups of oil, hogwash. No, you don't. You can do it in smaller batches. Pardon me. Okay, so if you have a small bottle like this one, you can fill that up. So you want to make it in a measuring cup. It's going to make it much easier to fill it up. Okay, so can you guys see what I'm doing here? Now you don't want to let this cool too much, because if you let it cool too much, it's going to solidify like gummy bears do. Okay, now this is walnut oil, and it is cold walnut oil. Had it in the freezer. Now this is definitely keto-friendly oil. You need something that you can put in the fridge that won't solidify. So not olive oil, not avocado oil, not butter. It needs to be walnut oil, almond oil, macadamia nut oil, MCT oil. Now watch what happens when we... I know that doesn't look really impressive, does it? But watch what happens. Now we are just going to do this over and over and over again, and you can make them as small or as large as you want. Now when you buy bubble tea in Vietnam, they're big tapioca pearls. Now these are going to be fair-sized pearls. And I'm not, whoops, there, that's going to be a huge one. I'm not putting the tip right down in the oil. I'm holding it above the oil and just making these as big as I want them. You can put 3 or 4 drops together. They'll go together when they hit the oil. And I know that is kind of starting to look weird in here, but you just watch what happens when we take these out of here. Now, what flavor do you want? Are you going to do this in a bubble tea, or do you want to do this in a nice coffee? What is it that you would like to do? Because when you get this into your kitchen, you do it your way. And when you're done with this oil, do not throw it away. put it in a container in your fridge and use it later. So there's nothing wrong with it. You want to strain it through a sieve. Make sure you've got all the little gelatin bits out. Now, if you're going to be doing a lot of this, you want to put this in an ice bath, and you want salt in the ice bath. So if you have some table salt left in your house from back when you were eating really gross salt, you can use the table salt, mix it in the ice. It lowers the temperature of the ice even farther. And that'll keep your ice or your oil cold longer so that you can make even more caviar. Now, there is one more step after we get this done, because nobody wants oil in their tea. Well, that's not true. I do want oil in my tea, but I want it cream or butter or MCT oil. And I suppose walnut oil wouldn't be a bad thing either. Okay, now we're just going to get this bottle done because I don't want it to solidify in my bottle. And then I will show you what we're going to do. Okay, I think we have almost enough. Now you don't need huge amounts of this for one glass of bubble tea. Okay, I think we're just going to squirt the rest of it back in there. And onwards and upwards. Now, if you don't have a bottle like this, they are easy to find, cheap to buy. If you have something like this, and just because I like playing with little tiny bits, you can also use this. Just an eyedropper. It's going to be a little harder to make bigger bubbles. And if you put it right down in the oil, you can make even bigger bubbles yet. Okay, now we are going to strain this. There isn't lots and lots of oil in here. Now, I would have had this oil sitting in an ice bath, but we had a power hiccup. We had a power hiccup, and the ice machine went off, and somehow we didn't notice that. Okay, now I'm just mixing this in this small sieve. We're going to get all of the oil out that we can. But look at what's happened here. We have little tiny gelatin pearls. So this isn't like tapioca. There's no carbs in this. There's a little bit of protein, but no carbs, no sugar. And we have these beautiful, beautiful little tapioca pearls. Now we are going to put those in an ice water bath. Just scrape off any extra oil. Put these into a cold water bath. Now the little pearls that we just made are going to sink to the bottom, mostly. So when we dump this water off, or you can skim the oil off the top, but when we do this, we're going to get the oil first. Okay, we'll put those two back in there, rinse them a bit more. Now, in your kitchen, I mean, I'm doing this because we're hanging out together here today. In your kitchen, just put them in a sieve and run them under cold water in your tap. But since we're not at the sink right now, we're just going to do it this way. And I've got a little more water than I actually needed here, so we'll just pour some in here. There, now we have the majority of the oil rinsed off these, and because it is a wonderful walnut oil, if there's any left on it, that is no problem. And look at what we've created. So instead of tapioca pearls, whoops, there we go. Instead of tapioca pearls, we've got these beautiful little chai tea pearls. And you can do whatever flavor you want. So Now we have these. What happens next? Well, let's get this stuff out of the way, and I will show you what happens next. Okay, clean up the mess that I inevitably make every time we get together, but that's okay because you guys are worth it. And this amazing bubble tea is absolutely going to be worth it. Now we are going to put all of this in one container because I'm going to use the last little bit of the gelatin and the flavor that's in it to measure the tea. So I'm going to put about 1.5 cups of tea in here. And I'm going to grab as many ice cubes as my little ice cube maker has made for me in the last little while. Now this tea has been cooling. You can make it a day ahead of time. Let it steep for at least an hour. Depending on how much water you have in there, add more tea bags. You want this to be really strong. We really want to be enjoying the flavor for this. All right, now, we're not going to use cream in this. We're going to use some almond milk today. And the almond milk also was not cooled because I just was not very on top of things. Okay, now we're going to pour this in the cup without whatever ice cubes are left right at the moment. Whoops. Now this is my cup of tea, so, well, I guess those ice cubes are all melted. Except for what I poured on the counter, which is also melted. Okay, so we have cold tea. Brew this ahead of time and put it in your fridge so it's ice cold. You want to sweeten it as much as you want it sweetened with a little bit more of the chai tea syrup. Now you can have it as sweet or not as you like. And this tea is lovely and sweet, just black. And then instead of using condensed milk, we're using a little bit of the chai sweetener and we're adding a little bit of almond milk. And then we are going to take our beautiful little gelatin balls that we made, and we are just going to add those to our tea. So if you're out and about and you see bubble tea, don't think that you can just go and have some because of, no, I don't know if you guys are going to be, yeah, you can see it. So there's our little black bubble tea pearls. And you mix it up and you see them floating around in there. And if you can't get them through your straw, that's okay. You can use a spoon. And at the end of the day, you have got amazing bubbles for your bubble tea, and you have a delicious caffeine-free tea. Use cinnamon tea, use peppermint tea, use whatever kind of tea you want to use. Use green tea, very healthy for you. And you can make the little gelatin caviar pearls, whatever flavor you want. You want to use lime? You want to really kick the flavor up in this? Use some key lime juice. There you go. Now remember, if you're using actual juice, you're going to have some carbohydrates in it. Okay, so I want to talk to you just for a minute before we go, because I know I've kept you guys a little bit long today. I want you to make sure that when you are choosing anything for an oil to do something like this in, that you are still using an oil that's keto friendly. So when you see fancy canola oil, no, that is not keto friendly. When you see low carb vegetable oil, no, sorry, still not keto friendly. And when you see Cambria oil, And that was a new one for me. But that is, it's also called, faux flax, I think. It is also not keto friendly. The keto friendly oils that you want to be looking for: almond oil, walnut oil, butter, bacon fat, beef tallow, olive oil, avocado oil, I'm not sure which ones I've said, or MCT oil. And when you're done with this and you have your oil all strained off, put it in a container in the fridge, because you're going to want to do this often. And this will absolutely amaze people that come to your house and have an amazing glass of your bubble tea. Just let me show you a bigger picture here. Okay, check this out. And it only took a couple of minutes. And it took us a lot longer than it would take you to do it at home. So, cold oil, ice with some salt in it if you've got it, especially if you're making a larger batch, and your favorite kind of tea brewed very strong. Put it in the fridge, some milk, you got this. So, I hope all of you will enjoy a glass of bubble tea this afternoon or sometime soon, and I look forward to hearing what you thought and what you made in your kitchen. So I will see you Sunday morning, 10 a.m. Mountain. We'll see if this sunburn on my face is gone by then. It seems to be, any burns seems to be disappearing really fast, and it's not sore, which is also something very new for me. Okay, have an amazing Friday, a wonderful weekend. Please do your very best to be the best version of you can be, and reach out to someone who needs you to reach out to them. Making someone's day a little brighter will also make yours a little brighter. Bye for now. Have a great day, everyone.